This is section 1.7, part 1, where we're going to look at absolute value. So if you remember from pre-algebra, absolute value always produces a positive solution, meaning you're always going to get a positive answer. It doesn't matter if you have a negative number, it's going to give you a positive answer. Right, so you know you're dealing with absolute value when you have these two straight lines coming down. All right, these two straight lines coming down are called absolute value bars, and inside you're either going to have a number, maybe a variable, or it could be an expression including a variable or multiple variables. All right, so we'll first start out with just a basic absolute value with just a number in there. So we see the absolute value of 5. So to evaluate this, you essentially just take a look at the number and make sure you put down the same number with make sure it's positive. So 5, the absolute value of 5 is simply 5. It's always a positive answer. What if we made it negative? All right, so let's look at number 2. We've got the absolute value of, say, negative 5. Well, we know the answer always produces a positive solution, so the absolute value of negative 5 is positive 5. The absolute value of negative 10 is positive 10. The absolute value of 10 is positive 10. So sometimes, as I said, you can have just a variable in there. So the absolute value of x, and we'll say that equals 7. So what is x? What numbers could you put in for x that will produce a result of 7? Well, we know if we take x and you set it equal to positive 7, if I were to plug positive 7 in there, what's the absolute value of positive 7? 7. And I can also make sure I'm going to include the opposite of 7, so negative 7. X equals negative 7, what happens? Absolute value of negative 7 is still positive 7. So when you have a variable in your absolute value bars, you're going to get two answers, not just one. Up here we had one answer, up here we had one answer, here we had two answers. So this should be, this should be number 3. And then number 4, if we had the absolute value of x equals negative 4, all right, well, your answer is not 4 and negative 4 because what does this say? Absolute value always produces a positive solution. So whenever you have an absolute value that's equal to a negative number, your answer is no solution.